Hi, everyone. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mary Piontkowski, who is currently the VP, Head of Product Design at Cisco Meraki in San Francisco. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming to have a chat with us.
Thanks, Andy. Really happy to be here.
Cool. Okay, so before we get going, would you mind giving us a little lowdown in your career to date?
Sure thing. As you mentioned, I lead design for Cisco networking, and that includes the Cisco networking cloud, as well as a bunch of on-prem products. I work on a smart spaces portfolio that includes Cisco Spaces, cameras, sensors, and some other things. So I started out as a designer, and over time, I gravitated more and more toward research and strategy and leadership. I've been at it for a good 25 plus years. I remember the times where I used to round up to 20, and now I think I'm capping it at 25 plus.
I'm with
So I'll
you.
be here for a while. I've built teams, I've acquired teams. I spent a lot of the time in the first half of my career on the consulting side, and the second half more on the product side. So, on the consulting side, I've had the opportunity to work on just a wide range of programs. Over time, my work in leadership became more about using design methods to innovate. So, things like digital transformation for financial institutions, new product information in complex spaces such as insurance, reimagining future state collaboration experiences with AI. Just a pretty big range.
Yeah,
I was able to bring really this wealth of experience from consulting over to the product side and then stick with these experiences that we're designing, solving these hard problems, but
yeah.
then ensuring they're going to make their way to customers and that they're going to work for customers. And I just think that's incredibly rewarding now in this stage of my career.
Good.
And I build teams that both, obviously have a tactical impact, but having a strategic impact is really, really important to how I lead. And we can talk a little bit more about that. And I guess lastly, I'll say I'm a proud mom of a Georgia Tech graduate who just started her first full-time role with Rivian. I think maybe
Ah,
um, my the accomplishment that I'm most proud of.
good. Good for you. That's lovely to hear. And just out of interest in your current role, I mean, Cisco, incredible company. What kind of design org do you lead there in terms of size and locations? Just so we got a bit of kind of complex nature of what you're doing.
Yeah, my team is about 120 something. We're largely US based. We do have a small team in India. We've had different team members. Oh, I guess we have a couple people in Europe as well. So we're dealing with a few different time zones, but primarily in US time zones. It could be worth saying that when I joined Cisco Meraki, and the team was six. And I
Really?
joined at a time where the
Wow.
organization knew they needed to scale to really build this Cisco networking cloud. With really our customers moving to the cloud, the business was just going to become, even, just incredibly important for Cisco. And then over time, another team working on more of the enterprise, more traditional networking products merged with my team. And so, alas, here we are from six to 120 something.
Wow, that's some journey. Okay, I'm looking forward to some key insights from that. So let's start then. So what do you enjoy most about being a design leader?
There are so many things. This is a hard question. For me, helping define product strategy is huge. Thinking about the internal service design that is required to, help drive these experiences for customers. Ultimately, building these experiences for customers. But I would say that is as a leader in an organization, as a design leader, I think one of the things that excites me most is the fact that we can use our design superpowers to help solve hard organizational problems.
Yeah.
Helping manage our organizations through change, helping align stakeholders. And I just think as we become more senior, it's expected of us. And we have structured ways of thinking about problems and design methods that can help break things down. One
Yeah.
of the examples that I could share not long ago is I had a senior executive come to me and say, Mary, can you use your design superpowers to help us? Like, we just went through a major reorg. Can you help us use your design superpowers to bring these new senior executive leaders together? They're not speaking the same language and they have to align on this really important new strategy for the business. And I was thinking, okay, I remember that week, that the few weeks around that time, I was thinking, I don't really like what is my big strategic thing I'm working on right now? I feel like I need to find that new thing. And this fell on my lap.
All right.
Um,
Okay.
so it was really it was an incredible experience. Planning a series of workshops, just being really intentional about, okay, what design methods am I going to use? Who am I going to bring into this process to help work through this problem with me? But we set up a bunch of workshops that were um, planned well, they were facilitated well. We pivoted between our days, and we came out on the other side with an aligned strategy. So we forced these executives out of their comfort zone. They came together, they had fun, they laughed, they did some hard work together. But it was it was so incredibly rewarding coming out the other side and
That's
bringing some of
fantastic.
my designers into the process too, and having this kind of influence and impact in an org.
I think one of my questions later on is, your tips on how to elevate design within an organization. I feel like you've actually just answered part of that without actually intentionally meaning to do so. But I love that. Okay, thank you. And amazing career today. Some of the biggest lessons you've learned in design leadership, and I guess takeaways from those lessons that could help you give some tips to aspiring design leaders.
Yeah, I have a huge list of things that I feel passionate about. And I love the way that you frame the question about lessons learned, because I feel like so much about what we believe is important and advice that we give has come out of lessons learned. I would say that the first one, and I'm always, always, always going to start with relationships. Relationships are just so key to everything that you do, your success, your product's success, your company's success. And I've definitely learned the hard way throughout my career, just wanting to move really quickly and not bringing people along. Stepping on the toes of my product partners because I thought that I had the strategy, figured out through what we were learning from customers. It's so important to take the time to build these relationships. And I think throughout my career, what I've learned is both the quantity and the quality of the relationships matter. So
Right.
the quantity is, the more people you know, and I just think this is such a huge part of my success at Cisco is getting to know people. When I joined, I told myself every week I'm going to meet at least one new person. Of course, in the first few months, it was like hundreds of people. But the more people that you know, the easier it will be to get things done. You're going to know who to go to when new things, when you have new challenges that you're faced with.
Yeah.
It'll be easier to influence and drive desired outcomes. More people that are going to sing your praises behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And then the quality piece, building trust, like deepening the relationships at the core is key. So you don't just want to superficially be able to, say, "Hey, Andy, hi." You want to get to know each other. So Andy, tell me.
Trust and confidence, right? I'm guessing.
Absolutely, because you're building that confidence, and ultimately, we're going to want to influence each other. I mean, we're doing work together. We're all trying to get things done. We're not always trying to get the same things done. So the more that you can build that deepened relationship, the more fun you'll have, but also the more you're going to be able to influence over time. And I like to if you've heard me talk before, you probably heard me talk about the Brené Brown jar of trust. So she has this idea, this concept of a jar of marbles. So like Andy, we have our jar of marbles. And the idea is that it's either filled, it's filled or not filled. And the marbles represent trust. And you want to build that jar of marbles. And so I often think about this in my relationships, like where are we right now? Is our jar pretty full? Can I take a risk and, something that I'm working through with that person? Can I be honest and transparent about something that isn't working? Is our
Mm.
jar full enough to do that? Or, is it depleted? And maybe now's not the time to take that risk.
To
Or
risk a marble.
it's yeah, exactly. In all of our relationships, if there's someone who I know is an important stakeholder, maybe we're not working together right now, but I think about our jar and it's pretty low. Maybe I stepped on their toes or burned bridges or something happened. Maybe my team, you know, did something that kind of depleted that jar. It's my job to build that up. So when I need
Yeah,
to come back to working with that person, we're in a good place. So that's relationships.
I
That's
love
number
that.
one.
I love that. It's just a kind of fun visual, but it's actually so impactful as well.
It's extremely useful, like
Mm.
between teams, you can just use it in so many ways, and it's just symbolic and helps you stay on track.
Good.
So the second one that I'm going to talk about is imposter syndrome. So I learned throughout my career that I'm not going to let it get to me. And I let it get to me too much. And I literally have this little critter that is like I've personified it. There's this little like I should draw it and put it on my profile. But I knock it off my shoulder all the time. And I've personifying it, I think, has helped me. But throughout my career, I'm just thinking about there was one job where I was not as successful as I could be. I was so intimidated by the people around me. There were a variety of reasons for that, but I let it get to me, and I was so afraid to speak up. And I have this happen all the time where I'm invited into some type of a new executive forum, or I'm working with a new leadership team, and where we go through another reorg, and here I am with a bunch of new stakeholders. We only live once and we were hired for a reason. And we just need to be brave and take chances and put ourselves out there. If we're speaking up 75% of the time, if we're speaking up 100% of the time and we're adding a lot of value 75% of the time, it's 75% of value that we wouldn't have added if we let this imposter syndrome get to us. So I just,
That's great.
I think there are so many things that we can do to build confidence, and that helps, thinking about confident language that will just like help you feel more confident. Every time I type, I think, it's a trigger for me to go back. I believe. Power questions, when you show up in a meeting, you don't need to have all the answers. If you're new to a job, if you're new to a domain, asking questions like, have we talked to customers? What is the competition doing? You can sound really smart without having answers. And my last little tip here, which is so small but so powerful, and for me, I think it sets off neurological um, waves of confidence, is anytime I join a meeting, which is pretty much all day, one after another, I say hi right away. I'm one of the first people to say hello. I show up, I create space for myself, and I exude confidence before anything even starts.
Brilliant.
Um, so imposter syndrome, don't let it get to you. We've all got it. You
Yeah.
gotta keep working at it.
We've all got one of them as well on the shoulder
Yeah,
that we have a
everyone can create their own version of it.
that we have a relationship with one way or the other. Thank you. Look, great tips there for aspiring
Hey,
design
Andy, I have
leaders
one
and
more.
oh, have you? Okay, please go ahead.
I have one more because there's always three. The third one is, I think it's really important, and it's also being brave is tied to this, but make your accomplishments known. I had to sneak it in because I just spent I'm a gap filler, a bridge builder, a barrier buster. If I see something needs to be done, I get it done. And it's extremely valuable to organizations to have people who do this, because otherwise those things don't get done. But you can fly under the radar and not be seen. And you need to make those accomplishments known. Like your leader isn't necessarily going to know. And you want other people to know because you are your own evangelist for
Yeah.
yourself. So if you're like me, it feels uncomfortable, but you should do it. Just last week, there were several things. We went through a reorg. I'm not spending as much time with my boss, my leader, and there's a bunch of things that I'm doing that are important. And I just sent him a note. I sent him a Slack. Sometimes I just put things in our one-on-one doc, just FYI. You wanna, you want to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're not going to be seen. You're not going to get promoted as fast.
Yeah.
You're not going to be as successful.
That's great. Thank you. Brilliant tips there. Really good. And I think your last point leads us nicely on to the next question about your kind of views on how to elevate design within an organization. I'm sure part of that is showing up and being honest and don't be scared of your achievements. But other thoughts around there, please?
Oh yeah, this is a big one. And I just think like intention is this overarching theme. I mean, maybe there are three or four parts to this as well. Like one is, have a vision and get people excited about your vision. Um, you want to create a vision though that is going to work within your organization. You don't want to just take the thing you did at your last company and do the same thing in your new company. Or, you don't want to, it could also be you don't want to talk about it the same way. You want to find a way to influence the outcomes that you have. For me, it's being a strategic design leader, making sure we have a strategic voice and seat at the table. But you need to think about like how to talk about it and roll it out in a way that's going to work for the org. For example, when I joined Cisco, there were a whole bunch of things that I did as I was building my vision and bringing people along. But there was one little thing, one little example that I'll share. I found that so, like doing discovery and delivery work concurrently is really important to playing a strategic role. You don't want to just get into the pushing mode and have to beg for discovery or strategy work. And I found that the concept of dual track agile really resonated. Like it's a very engineering led company, and I think it has the word agile in it. And so I was like, right, this is a way to talk about it that's gonna like bring people along and get people excited about what we're doing. So vision. I would say cross-functional relationships again. I know I talked about relationships before. But you want to do what you can to show up with engineering and PM as that powerful triad. And the more that you can, make that happen, the better. One of the experiences that I've had since I've been at Cisco is we went through a reorg. There's a theme in my talk, the reorg. But I went with my product and engineering leadership partners to present to a senior exec crowd about like how we did in Meraki, how we did use case driven, how we had a use case driven approach to product development, and we use the double diamond, our design model, the double diamond, to talk about how we're smart about the problem space and making sure we solve the right problems for customers, that we don't just work from long feature lists, which a lot of teams do. And so the things that we put out into the world really resonate with our customers. And, through this talk, we talked about how the triad needs to show up together to do this. We need design and research working early on to help us figure out requirements, to help us figure out roadmaps. And, this was a whole bunch of new execs that were hearing this. And, the fact that they looked to our part of the org for inspiration, the fact that I had my product leader next to me saying these things was really incredible and went a long way for our team. And that double diamond ended up making its way into presentations for Chuck, our CEO of Cisco. So, showing up together is really important. And
Brilliant.
then third is hiring a strong team. And, we're showing our value every day. And the more that we can show the value, the more trust that we build. If we're not doing the things that we want to be doing, we should take tiny steps and show value. If we're not doing as much research as we want to be doing because people are afraid it's going to take too long, do some scrappy research. These are all things that you can do to influence the outcomes that you want to have and really elevate the role of design within the org.
Thank you for that. Fantastic. And talking of design within the org as well, um, a common thread which I'm having a lot of chats about and some very interesting answers, particularly as we go into design starting to build again around new technology. What are your thoughts on design being a centralized function via decentralized function within a larger org?
Yeah, it's super hard in a large org. And um, neither, neither or both. My response would be kind of, what we're doing, and I think it works pretty well, is a bit of a hybrid approach. I
Yeah,
think Kristen Skinner and Peter Meerholtz refer to centralized partnership in their org design for design org book, and it's kind of a similar concept. So we're centralized in that we have one design team, where we're building a strong design culture. We're, building skills. We provide professional, development and mentoring for our designers, our researchers, our content designers. Yet we're decentralized in that our team members are plugged into their product teams. So they're working on different products or different parts of the experience for the different products that my team works on. Um, and I'd say like one of the big advantages of having a central team, and I mean, I think a lot of design leaders share this, is that, we're gonna drive quality and efficiencies. We're gonna be able to identify places where we're not designing the same thing 50 times. We're gonna have reference design and patterns. We have one design system that we share. Um, and we also can see, because we're working across all of these different product areas and we come together at times for rituals like critique and design review, we're able to see where teams should be connected and they're not. And I'd say this is like a little bit of a blessing and a curse. You know, we can evangelize for some of these things in the org that should be happening horizontally but aren't. But at the same time, it can be very hard and it can feel like we're slowing things down because the teams need to deliver outcomes in their silos, which is reasonable. So,
yeah,
I think sometimes I think it's a great thing, but I think it can also put ourselves in a challenging position where we feel like these Uber program managers or Uber strategists that can't succeed because of the silos. And then I'd say one of the downsides of decentralization is, we end up having these ring-fenced resources. People, the teams don't want to lose their resources because they don't want to lose their resources. They have outcomes that they're trying to drive. But because we have this centralized function, we can see like, oh, well, we know the overall, priorities for the org. We can see where resource shifts could make a lot of sense. And of course, we evangelize for those things, but it becomes, a negotiating game where we have to convince a whole bunch of teams to kind of reorg to do the right thing for the org.
yeah,
Um, so, I mean, it's rewarding work. Again, it's like applying our design thinking to the org design. Um, yeah, I think like I guess the one other thing I would say about like how we're doing this in Cisco is that everything that I said, and then we have about, let's just say four of those big design orgs in Cisco. So we don't actually have like everything centralized. But I think this works pretty well because we're able to not get so huge that we become disconnected from our product areas.
yep,
We do have pretty distinct things that we're working on in our large orgs. And we work as design leaders, as research leaders, as design system people to kind of build bridges horizontally. So, for example, we share most of our products are using a common design system that started out for Meraki, but incredibly
okay,
it's adopted. But there are talks about like, should we centralize like everything? Should those four big orgs come together? And there are still like little pockets, even outside of those four orgs. There's like a small design team here and a small
yeah,
design team. Those I think are a little bit problematic, but it's hard to avoid in a company as big as Cisco.
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely seeing a trend towards that, the hybrid though. It's bringing those design consistencies, but allowing design groups to sit and really get to know a product, but still feel like they have a central kind of line of management and career progression, opportunity to maybe work on different products at some stage and not be too pigeonholed. So it definitely feels like it's a trend, and it seems like, it fits a lot of orgs, but not all orgs.
In building that domain expertise, the decentralized part, it helps teams move fast. The designers build deep subject matter expertise. There are a lot of great things about it. But then, you can get bored. There's a point in time where any of us need a change. So that centralized piece can help look for those opportunities.
Great.
Yeah, it's not perfect. Like, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's got that magic ball to make it perfect. But thank you. It's been some great insights there, Mary. Really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone will enjoy it. But lastly, curveball question, usually non-design related, but you never know. Can you tell us something that few people know about yourself?
All right. Well, I tend to be a little bit of an open book. So if you know me, you know a lot of my secrets, but a lot of you don't know me. I something that I've taken on over the last year or so is I religiously do one Duolingo French lesson a day. And I'm proud to say that I'm close to a year. What you may not know about me is that I spent far too much of my life learning conversational Klingon. And it seemed like a good idea. So Klingon, it's Star Trek related language.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. Okay. Okay.
I think about all the time that I spent doing that and driving to work with one of my coworkers. We just thought it was hilarious. And, I was able to speak with Klingons at a Star Trek convention in Vegas and
That's
other
so good.
America. But I just thought, like, why did I spend that much time learning Klingon when, I could have been learning something practical. I spent high school like trying to learn French. I have a French husband. I could have spent more time learning a language that was much more practical.
Oh, yeah, but your husband could have spent time learning Klingon, let's be honest.
Yeah, true, true. At least I raised a daughter who's making better choices. She's fluent in
Oh,
French, Spanish, has made a dent in German, Turkish, Arabic.
wow.
But anyway, I am not going to give up on French. I've had so many. I spent a couple of summers in France. I bought the Rosetta Stone at one point, but I'm hoping that my tiny Duolingo habit is going to prepare me. So when I decide to retire, my husband and I can move to south of France, and I will be able to speak French with
Good for
the people
you.
around.
Good for you. That's fantastic. Well, Mary, that has been very insightful. Certainly enjoyed the last question, but I enjoyed all of the answers. And thank you from the audience and myself. And we look forward to seeing you in future TDA events, forums, get ups and meet togethers.
Thanks, Andy. It's been a pleasure. Really
Thanks,
enjoyed it.
Mary. Chat to you soon.